They put and I looked at her and I said, okay. Your second and coat. She took my driver's license and they go in there with a black light. Oh my! And they can see all the places because they know all the places that they have to do. You know, so they can just take a black light and go like this. Because I'm like, you're gonna cart me, and the other one's no, we have to. If there's any misses, you're allowed a couple of misses, whatever. And I'm like, okay, here. It's pretty neat. Inspectors, you don't even have to hurry. They don't have to climb or nothing. They can actually see with that black light. That's all they really care about is that second coat to make sure all them things are done. And then on the next coat, there'd be 4 coats on this.
You try to get me to see your coffees.
We was zinc mastic. You know, the first time I was in Applebee's and a young waiter called me man for the first time ever. And I said, you know what, young man? And I said, I have an eject button to eject people like you like this. This is so remorseful. I am so sorry. What did I do? And I said, you're the first person who ever called me man. I was I think I was probably was 45. Really ticked me off. Because all these different age things to go through. Yeah. Like, what did you call me? Yeah. But I thought it was, and they weren't kidding about the 50. They really were not. Because I thought they were just doing their job, this and that. But that girl looked at me and went, oh my gosh. I said, yeah.
You get it? 30 years off the recoat. Just basically they'll touch it up and then recoat it because of the UV protection.
Someone's going swimming.
After 30 years.
All right, remember safety
and then
third.
Probably get another 30 years out of the recoat. 60 years should
be safe.
I don't think those towers are other than just a little bit of top line.
She pulled her pants right back up.
I mean, how long is that bridge?
Up to her chest.
They're gonna something's gonna change. Traffic's too high. Either we're gonna fly across that lake, or there's gonna have to be something. That bridge is not gonna hold up. The arms are in the way of the house.
I've been recording for a while. You say whatever you want.
So you guys, we're gonna share a couple stories here, but first of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming, and thank you, Bobby, for coming up and preaching. She said yes to Kevin to preach this past weekend, so we thought we'd take advantage and just have those that know Bobby and Mega Healing School share the meal tonight.
And thank you guys for letting me stay in your place, man. That's so nice of you.
So, first of all, this is known as Boat Harbor, and Danny, you want to give a little bit of history about Boat Harbor, and then I'll go into the.
So, just recently, we've found that a lot of people enjoy it here. They find peace here. They find it to be a safe place. It seems to be basically a safe place, and a nice place for people to come. And it just dawned on me one day that I've always called it Boat Harbor. My grandpa named it Boat Harbor back in the day, and we thought, well, it was a safe place even back in the 30s because it's a harbor for boats, and that's what the fishermen needed, was a place to get out of the weather, whatever else. They called it Boat Harbor. So now it's a safe place for Christians. It's a place for us. So it's always been a safe place. So that's something that has been going on for years here. And my grandpa bought this place in the 30s, late 30s, built that in the early 40 maybe, and this in 42. Not like this though. This was just a little garage like that, and I made it into this about 3 years ago. So we want to make it into a place for Christian, just everything, whatever. Maybe weddings, whatever. We want it to be a place for people to come and enjoy and just be able to be safe and relax, I guess.
We have a lot of plans. Eventually, we might put maybe like a little chapel out there, pavilion over here, outside shower. Those of you who don't know, I'm big on outside showers. I have one at home. I told Dan I have to have my outside shower out here. But so yes, we have big plans here. So I hope this is the first for some of you and many more to come for everybody. So I want to give you guys a little bit of history so you know why the testimony I shared in church today was such important. So in November of 2018, Dan and I were led to go to Lighthouse Assembly. That's when we first started going there, November 2018. And then we went to Drummond Island in January of 2019 for the first time. And so a lot of you guys know about Drummond Island. Some of you guys have been there. Dan and I had no idea what gifts of the spirits were, how to hear from God, any of that stuff. We started attending Lighthouse. And then a lot of our gifts got activated in January of 2019. And Dan and I have grown a lot together and as individuals with some spiritual gifts. And I share that in order to make sense with what we're about to share. So it was in January of this year. I know it was in January. Our Christmas tree was still up, so I don't know the exact date. When Dan and I were laying in bed, I'm going to say 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, Dan woke up crying. And I could hear him crying, and I woke up. And what's the matter? And he said, God just woke me up and told me that we're going to suffer loss this year, and I believe it's going to be one of our kids. And that hit us both hard, to have God share that with you, but not know what is going to go on. But we prayed and thought, no, God, that's not what's going to happen. And we prayed and thought, we both have parents in our 80s. It's probably one of our parents. We believed the lost part, but Dan kind of thought maybe it was just his imagination that was going to be one of our kids. But we thought about it off and on, and then in February we lost our dog of 10 years. It was like a kid to us. We're like, we were sad to lose our dog, but we thought it was our dog. So we
always called him our kid.
We always called him our kid. So we kind of just forgot about what God was preparing us for. And then in March, the Lord likes to wake us up in the middle of the night, sense of humor, I guess, and give us messages. And anyway, he woke me up in March, and he said, Renee, he says, you're going to go into ministry. And I thought, okay, Lord, I don't know what I have to share. We've all got things that have happened in our life, but I didn't think I had anything significant to share. And I went back to sleep, and he woke me up a little bit later, and he said, no, Renee, he says, you're going into ministry, and the name of your ministry is going to be called Honeycomb Ministry, and it's going to be a traveling ministry, and I could see a motorhome. This was in March. I told Dan we were buying a motorhome because we were going to have a traveling ministry. He said, no, we're not. That's not what we're doing. We're not buying a motorhome. Maybe down the road, but no time soon. Well, the Lord must have been speaking to Dan somehow, because Memorial Weekend, Dan found a motorhome. We went and looked at it and asked the Lord, is this the motorhome that you want us to have? You have to make it obvious, because we had looked at different ones. Long story short, next to the motorhome that we purchased recently was some honeycomb. So that was a sign that this was the motorhome we were to buy, and that yes, we were going to have a traveling ministry. But still at that point, didn't know what our ministry was going to be about.
Put money down on it.
What's that?
I said we put money down on it and said we'd be back next week sometime when we had some.
Put some money down on it on Sunday and told them we'd be back on Saturday to get it. That was Sunday of Memorial Weekend. And then at 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning, some of you heard the story before, but I got in my car and I was driving down the road and I had 2 sheriff cars coming at me. And they whipped around and they started following me. And I'm like, wow, what did I do? What's going on here? And it was obviously they were following me because I went 6, 7 miles in every stop, every turn. And I thought, Dan had just left about an hour and a half earlier than that. He was headed up to Norway to go to work. Anyway, when they got out, I said to the officer, did I do, and he knew me, it was Dalton, it's Hallie's boyfriend. I said, Dalton, did I do something wrong? And he put his head down, he's like, nah, Renee, you didn't do anything wrong. And I knew immediately that something wasn't right. And of course, I was thinking it's my husband, because he had just left, headed to Norway. When he said, Renee, Officer Peterman needs to talk to you. And he said, Renee, I'm sorry to let you know about your son, Brad. At that moment, I didn't need to hear anything else. I just dropped. And, didn't know what to do. Cry, scream, and, felt my chest tighten up. And I have no doubt that, I never would have got up from that sidewalk if Jesus wouldn't have just breathed into my lungs to keep me going, because I could have died right there on the spot. And, a lot of grieving has gone on since then, a lot of lamenting, but through it all, hard to explain, but I've always had this sense of peace and joy, but deep grieving through it all. And God has showed me things about my son being in heaven. And he said, the day of Brad's funeral, those of you who were at his funeral, the strength of the Lord, I stood up and spoke at my son's funeral. I don't remember what I said. I remember bits and pieces. But at the end, the Lord said, now, Renee, you know what your ministry is about. So I've been struggling. Like, you know, why me? Why Brad? Why a ministry? God knows. But anyway, I shared this with you because during my grieving and my lamenting, I've been struggling. So I'm playing the first part of the story. Now, Vale has something to share. So this is the shofar. And Vale's going to tell you, this is his, and he's going to tell you his story, and then I'm going to give you the rest of my story.
Well, this trip started from a phone call. Bill had asked me, what's 46 degrees north and 86 degrees west? I have no clue. I know what 45th parallel is, so I Google it out, and it's just east of this town called Gulliver. And I'm like, I only remember passing through this to get to and from Manistee. That's the only little reason I know about the town. I'm like, you think we need to pray over this place? And Bill says yes. And anyway, so we were faithful to that. Yesterday, August 20th, we knew the date probably since June. We went up there, and many times we go on these prayer journeys, we don't really have direction. We're just obedient to go. That is it. And so we're going through, as we start to hit the UP, generally when we don't have direction and we go through Nobbin Way, the Lord generally directs me to stop there. Well, that day was no different yesterday. And so we stop at the Three Crosses. Well, every time we go there, it seems there's more things for the Lord. When I prayer walked Nobbin Way in 2016 with 6 other guys, there was just 3 crosses. Now there's 3 crosses, a chapel, 2 flowing wells, just seating. There's even a tent for a tent meeting set up. And so Bill's getting some downloads, and I'm just like, all right, well, Lord, what do you want me to do? And so I sounded the ram's horn through the tent, and I sounded my kudu horn through the tent. Ram's horn breaks down walls, the kudu horn brings praise to the Lord. So generally it is in that order. But then I'm being told to immerse my shofar and blow it in the water of the springs. I'm like, okay, I've never done that before, but okay, Lord, I'll do that. And so I do that and everything else, and then there's a little well coming out. You need to drink from the living water. Okay, I'll do that too. And on my way out, you go by this stump. It's a man-made stump. It's not there, wasn't there naturally, but there's a well. There's another well coming out of it. So there's water coming from this stump, basically. And all of a sudden, Lord says, "Leave your shofar there. Someone needs it. You get it back later." I've never left my shofar, right? And I'm not a germy person, so I'm like, all right, the Lord needs to use my shofar for some reason, and it fit perfectly in this hole in the stump. It belonged there. And so I told Bill, I'm like, Lord just told me to leave my shofar in the stump. Worst case, I will just grab it when I come back. If someone steals it, then they must need it more than I do. Well, I can get another one, but the Lord wanted me to do this, so that was about the end of it. So we left, and no idea who it was for, whatever. And so we go to Gulliver. We meet another gentleman there that I've served with. We both have, me and Bill, and it's like, all right, well, we need to go here to this creek. And so we go to the bridge of this creek. We start praying, and Renee calls me, and I wasn't going to answer. So the Lord said, answer the phone. Because I'm like, we're in we've all been through through some prayer services. Like we're in the heat of prayer. Like I can't be distracted. But I'm like, but then the Lord said, answer the phone. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I actually thought Renee had a word for us. Just that we've had that happen. So I answered the phone. Like, hey Renee, what's going on? and tells me where she's at, and all of a sudden I receive instructions, and she said, "Wait, while you're out there, be praying for peace for me." And Renee might know a little bit more about what was said, because the only thing I remember is the instructions, honestly. So I need to pray for peace. And I'm like, "You're going to home, right?" And she says, "Yes." I'm like, "Okay, you need to stop in Nobbinway. There is a shofar there. It is for you to blow. Can you blow the shofar? Have you ever blown that before?" She's like, "Hey, I'm a little rusty, but I think I can do it." "All right, well, you need to do that. Then you need to find your peace. Once you blow that shofar, the ram's horn knocks down your walls. You need to blow that shofar, wait for peace, then drink from the living water that's there, and then you can go home." And she was starting to tear up on the phone. And then actually I was getting another call in, which is a whole other story. I don't need to say that on the recording, but that's an whole other story. So with that, Renee, take it away.
Yeah. So now we'll go back. So I shared this in church this morning, but
Renee, can I just put in for a minute?
Yeah.
Will you explain why you called Val?
Yeah.
Because that hasn't been explained.
yeah, so I was up in Escanaba working the fair for Enbridge, which I never do. They needed help, and they sent me up there, and that's not what I'm supposed to do, but that's where they sent me. And there's a big Enbridge tent. I'm under there, and I'm telling you, there's probably 30 people standing around signing petitions and getting their free gifts. And all of a sudden, I felt I'm supposed to call Vale and make sure he knows about the potluck on Sunday. I thought, well, I can't call him now, like I'm like busy. Nope, you call him right now and tell him about the potluck. I'm like, I take my phone, make sure nobody's looking at me because I'm supposed to be working. I go around the corner and I say, "Hey, Vale, I want to let you know that Bobby's going to be in town and I want to invite you guys for this potluck." Well, that's the Lord's sense of humor to get me to call Vale. But so Vale told you the story, so I called Vale, invited him, and then he told me, gave me these instructions. He felt it was for me. I got very choked up because I knew, I had no doubt that it was for me, but still didn't know what was going to happen. So I left, nervous driving, knew where the chapel was that he was talking about, nervous driving, like what's going to happen when I get there. Well, when I pulled in, there's a big tent and a big roaster and some porta potties and a lady working in the gardens around there. And I thought, really, Lord? How am I going to get comfortable and find my peace? Obviously, there's going to be a party going on here, and there's a lady here. How am I going to blow the horn? He told me, do as instructed. So I went to 3 little stumps looking. The shofar wasn't there. I thought, okay, I know you didn't send me here for no reason. What's going on? So I walked up to the lady, and I said, hey, I was sent here. I was told to look for a shofar and a stump, but I looked, and there's nothing here. Do you know if anybody's been around? I think somebody took the shofar. She goes, no. I just got here, she said, about 5 minutes ago, but I haven't seen anything. So I was getting ready to leave when I seen this big stump up on a pile of rocks. I thought, you know what? Just climb up there. It's a huge stump, but climb up there. So I did, and down inside was this. So I remember what Vale told me. His instructions were from the Lord. I found a bench, and I tried blowing this thing multiple times, and I got absolutely nowhere. So out of frustration and the grieving that I've been in, I just sat on the bench and I cried. And I cried and I cried, and I was trying to hold back because this lady's working in the garden over here, and I didn't want to cut loose, but I don't even know how to explain it, but there was a weeping deep, and it's kind of like speaking in tongues. It wasn't me crying. I truly believe that it was Jesus crying through me. I felt it. And I continued to sit there for a while. And then I very clearly heard the Lord say, go down and stand in the water. So I sat there for a moment, feeling awkward because this lady's, sitting there. Now you want me to go down to the water and try and blow a horn that I can't blow. So I walked down. There's flowing water there and a bunch of rocks leading to the water. And instead of going and standing over here in the water where it's warm, I was led to stand right where the ice cold water from the flowing well was, and I stood there, and I stood there, and I stood there, and I kept asking the Lord, what's going on? What is it that you want to know? I know you brought me here for a reason. I'm not able to blow this, but I know you have something to show me. And the Lord gave me a vision. So 2 weeks ago, I was in church, and Kevin played this song, I Surrender. And when he played it, water just poured out of my eyes. And I was trying to tell the Lord that I'm trying to surrender Brad to you, Lord. I'm trying. I can't. I'm not ready, but I'm trying. And I could see Jesus walking down these steps, and he's like this. And I could see myself as an adult holding Brad as an adult, and Brad was very limp in my arms. It was obvious that he was passed away and he was gone. And Jesus kept saying, are you ready? Give him to me. Are you ready? I kept saying, no, I'm not ready, Lord. I'm not ready. He said, you have to give him to me, Renee. You have to give him to me. Release him to me. So I did. I could see myself placing him in Jesus' arms. And then that was it. The song was over and that was it. And I thought, man, that's really bizarre, Lord. Until yesterday. When I was standing in the water, the Lord showed me carrying Brad again. Or Jesus carrying Brad again. And I'm standing in the water. And I'm watching Jesus walk across the water. And that's ginormous. I didn't know how to explain it. It was just a ginormous clamshell. The clam was wide open. And you ever seen inside the clamshell? It's all pearly and iridescent and white and pink. There's a pearl there. And Jesus said, you know, take the pearl, place Brad into this, what I felt was a heavenly coffin. That's how I explain it. To me, it was a coffin in heaven. So as Jesus placed Brad in there, I'm bawling. I can see Brad laying there, and all of a sudden, Brad just sat up and he smiled at me. I'm crying. I knew. I started to feel a sense of peace, like, you know, I've let him go. He's in heaven. He's good, which I've always known he was in heaven, but letting him go into heaven just brought me a sense of peace. And then I picked this up and I blew it, and it made a noise. And I stood there for a while. And then I walked up to the bench. There's a bench there. And I sat there for a while, and I know Val said, don't go until you feel peace. So I sat there for a long time, and I could just feel the peace coming through me. I felt very, very peaceful. And I knew the last step was to take a drink. Dan and I had been in the chapel before, so I knew there was paper cups in the chapel. So I was going to go in the chapel and get a cup, and the Lord said, no, you don't need a cup. You need to drink out of the shofar. And I said, but Lord, it's been sitting in a stump. I'm sure Val's got lots of spit in there. I don't think I want to drink out of that. He says, no. He says, fill it and drink it. So I went to the name of the chapel is Christian Fellowship Living Waters. So I went to the flowing well and I filled it up and I swished it around and dumped it out, filled it back up, and I was going to drink like this. It seemed natural to me. And the Lord said, no, you drink from this end. I'm like, Lord, you know, he said, no, you drink from this end. And I realized as I picked it up to drink it that I was pointing it towards heaven. And I filled it right to the tip top. This whole thing was filled with water. And I just drank it, and it was cool, it was refreshing. And I felt my entire body tingle sensation. And I just was filled with immediate joy. A joy that I've never felt before, but not a human joy, but a heavenly joy. And I thanked the Lord, and I thought I was done. When the Lord said, there's a reason for this woman here today, you know. There's a purpose. Even though I was uncomfortable, there's a purpose. He says, I want you to go to her, and I want her to tell her your story. Because she's a member of the church, and your ministry begins at her church. You're going to go to her church, and you're going to tell your story. So I went up, and I shared it with the lady, and she confirmed. She said, I've been praying for peace for you the whole time you've been sitting here. The Lord told me to pray for peace. She said, I heard you try to blow that horn. She said, I heard it when you finally did. And she says, I'm here to confirm that you and I were meant to be here today. And our pastor's going on a sabbatical. We don't know who's going to replace him or how that's going to work. It's going to happen in September. We're still working on it. but I have no doubt that you're coming to my church and you're going to tell your story, and your ministry is going to begin right here. So that's the story. And I had to share that rest of stuff with you so that you knew that God told me I was going to have a ministry, and I had no idea when, where, how, or why, but it was confirmed yesterday what my story is and where it's going to begin. So that's the story.
And even, the Lord went ahead with you placing it there, the shofar there, but how did you know that where the chapel was?
So I knew where the chapel was, so Hallie, our daughter, sent Dan and I a message a couple weeks ago and said, check out this really cool place. We were really there. It's neat. And 3 days later, Dan and I eat dinner very late. If we eat before 9 o'clock p.m., this was a good night for us. We ate dinner before 9. Dan and I were running around. Dan said, Renee, I'm taking you for a ride. He said, we're going to go for dinner, but we're going to Nobbinway. So he didn't know that Hallie had sent me the picture. He said, I got something I want to show you. We're going to go out for dinner up there. In the back of my mind, I kind of had a feeling it was a chapel. But he took me there, and we probably sat there for an hour, and both of us just sat there with tears in our eyes, and we just felt peace, and we both knew something special was going to happen at that place eventually. We had no idea what, but we just knew, had no doubt that chapel was going to play a part in our lives somewhere, not knowing just 3 weeks later that the Lord was going to reveal some things to me. So yeah. Anybody have any questions or anything they want to share?
What
about
church
this?
are you sharing at?
It's called Christian Fellowship Church up there.
Where is it at?
It's you go through
Nobbinway?
Nobbinway.
Just before you get into Nobbinway.
Just before you get, yeah.
Right on the water right there.